Sweeties, it is Shaaba. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for clicking on another Thursday video. Today I am going to start a Thursday series that I'm very excited about, and I know you guys are going to be very excited about it too. And I'm not making any promises on how often I'm going to put these videos out because there's two reasons. I'll just tell you what it is because obviously the title is going to give it away. For those of you who don't know, we're wedding planning, yay! We know when our wedding's going to be, we've had the big talk with our parents now. It's all coming together and I'm so excited to share this journey with you. But here's the thing, I don't want to bore myself or you guys with all the wedding talk because I know how like all-consuming it can become, and this channel is not going to turn into a wedding channel basically. So yeah, I'm gonna call this the new wedding series. It's gonna set off that, but also at the same time I'm not making any commitments to it being a genuine series that comes out regularly because yeah. Also, you guys may not notice this, but I'm using a different filter on our light today and I really like it. Right, let's get this puppy on the road. Never said that before in my life. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today is the structure of our wedding, which probably sounds really bizarre, but for those of you who don't know, I am Shaaba, hello, and I am Mauritian in culture. I'm British, I was born in the UK, as were my parents, but my grandparents were not, and so I was raised, at least on my mum's side, with quite, I say strict. It wasn't hugely strict, but then my mum married my stepdad, who's certainly more cultured, so then it got kind of stricter. This could very easily turn into a very long video, which is not going to happen, but basically, I was brought up with Mauritian culture, and I'll get into what that actually is in just a second. But my partner, Jamie, who I'm sure you guys will all know, just in case you don't, is Scottish. Well, he's again, no, yeah, he is Scottish. He doesn't have a Scottish accent, but his parents certainly do, and they were brought up in Scotland and lived in Scotland, and Jamie was brought up here in the UK. So yeah, we are going to have a Mauritian Scottish fusion wedding. That made a heart sign. That was kind of cute. I didn't plan that, but yay. And whilst weddings are a lot of fun, they're also a lot of stress, and the conceptual planning of what this wedding is actually going to bloody look like has been a bloody nightmare. But I'm so excited because you know what? I love mixed race couples. I don't know if it's racist for me to say that, but I kind of favour the idea of diversity. And what I'm trying to say in my very stupid way is that I have been binging non-stop looking, or trying to at least, at fusion wedding content online, and there's really not very much of it, but I love seeing the two cultures come together. There's just something so beautiful about seeing the clashes and the families and the stark difference, and I just feel like it's extra special and that like something new, do you know what I mean, that kind of sets the day apart from what I normally see in Western weddings and what I normally see at Asian weddings. I have been to a fair few Asian weddings. I've been to far less, like 2 Western weddings, I want to say, but I feel like I know enough about both now to squish them together and create our own special magical journey, and that is what I want to talk to you guys today about. So let's get into it. Firstly, in terms of Mauritian culture. Mauritian culture is a big higgledy-piggledy pot. I know most of what I know from what my grandparents have told me and also from what I found on the internet, and essentially Mauritius is a tiny little island right at the bottom of Africa. You've probably heard of Madagascar, you've probably heard of the Seychelles. Mauritius is one of those extra little islands right there. It's so small you can technically drive around the whole thing in a day, and it is a beautiful place. It's known as Île de Paradis because it is a paradise island, quite literally. It is stunning. It is the Ariana Grande of countries. And its background is also quite a peculiar one. So essentially its makeup is mostly of like Hindu Indian people, Creole people who are like the native Mauritians who follow sort of like a more African culture, and then also Chinese people. And the whole country is a huge melting pot of lots of different influences, and the part that my family specifically come from are quite Indian in culture, basically. So yeah, I guess that's why I call myself Asian, even though by being Russian I'm technically African, fun fact for you. And that's also why we follow predominantly Asian, like Indian Asian culture. Now weddings in Mauritius, and I guess in India, seeing as that's where it stems from, are huge affairs. They go on for multiple days at a time, and they're quite fun, to be honest. How do I structure this video? Do I speak? Okay, I'm gonna talk Asian and then Western. Asian, Western. Asian weddings can go on for like 7 days. From what I've read, that's like the longest it can be. Western weddings are typically just 1 day. They also have like a hen party and a stag party, but I've not really seen Western weddings go beyond just a one-day affair. Asian weddings are very much based in like family homes and halls. I want to say cheaper venues. This is what I'm finding, you know, like community halls. Or actually now in the UK there are huge ones because the numbers as well for an Asian wedding are massive. You invite so many people to Asian weddings, typically because the families are really big, but also because it's not just close people that attend the wedding, it's like everyone who knows the couple and their family. I mean, I've seen wedding venues specifically catering for Asian weddings that boast about their capacity for holding 900 people. Like, it's insane. And I also know of people who have had over 1,000 people at their wedding before, which again is pretty insane. Not in a bad way, like none of this is in a bad way, I just find it fascinating. Meanwhile, Western weddings do tend to be a bit smaller and also much like fancier affairs, like in terms of where things are held. They're like country manors and castles and fairy tale lands. It's yeah, again, a little bit of a difference there. In terms of dress, things are obviously very different. Asian weddings, and I guess this goes for cuisine too, Asian weddings do tend to be very Asian, with lehengas or saris or salwars, and all the guests also come in Asian wear. A wedding we went to recently was pretty cool. Like, they were dressed proper Asian, and he had a turban on and like a sword, the big baggy trousers and the shoes that kind of went a little bit curly at the end. I never really quite understood why they do that. Western weddings, people obviously wear the white dress and the suit. And in terms of cuisine, it's not Asian food, which is mostly like curries, or in Mauritian land, what? In Mauritius, the native dish. Is it the native dish? I'm gonna call it the native dish. I don't have the power to call it the native dish. It's something that we are quite well known for, is biryani, which is like this big hot pot meal of rice and potatoes and a meat. Yeah, it's cheap and it feeds a lot of people, and you always have it with a Pepsi. So that's Mauritian weddings. Also curries, you know, that kind of Asian cuisine. Whereas white weddings tend to be like canapes and then like a 3-course sit-down meal and then another meal. I didn't realise this. Actually, in Western weddings these days, you feed your guests twice, which is quite a bit expensive. But I also kind of see why, because they do go on longer. I guess that's another thing. Asian weddings do start later. Like, Western weddings are whole day affairs. The most recent one we went to started at 12 and didn't end until midnight. Whereas in comparison to the Asian weddings, you kind of get there for like 4, from what I've seen, and then it goes on until late. I don't know. You get there at 4, you can have lunch before, can't you? Sneak a sandwich in the car, or yeah. So yes, those are the big differences that I've seen between Asian and Western weddings. And in terms of how the days are structured on the Asian side, I'll now quickly discuss this before revealing to you guys what it is that we're going to do. From all the discussions that I've had with my family about this, and again, all of my research online, what I've found is that there's a real big difference. I say this if it's new to me. I just want to point out that there's a really big difference between religion and culture. My family are Muslim, so they come from a very Muslim background. In terms of culture, that is the Mauritian Asian influence. There's a difference there between being Muslim and being Asian, right? And so really, in terms of the wedding, there's only one thing that is religious in Asian weddings, and that is something called a nikah. And a nikah, or a nikkah, is how I guess it's probably pronounced, Nikkah. Is it a double K? I think it's a double K. A nikah is a ceremony. So in terms of a civil wedding, people walk down the aisle and there's a person who says, do you take, and they do the vows and the rings exchange. It's very lovely. The nikah is the Asian version of that, and what happens at the nikah is the men and women are segregated, so they're in completely separate rooms. An important thing to also remember here is that normally, like, the history of this comes from arranged marriages, and it's something that I found quite bizarre just because I'm not used to it, but even as you're getting married, you're not together. So the bride is in one area with all the women from the families, and the groom is in another area with all the men as they're getting married. So there's an imam, which is the equivalent of a priest. It's like the holy person of the Islamic faith that comes to bless your wedding and carry out the ceremony. I really need to work on my terminology, I'm sorry. I should probably also disclaim, I am in no way like an expert in these things. This is just based on my anecdotal, what my family have told me. I've probably said this so much time, and what I found online. But yeah, anyway, there's an imam who will come to do the ceremony, and he will go to the men's room and he will basically do some like Islamic readings from the Quran, and then essentially say, do you take the person over there to be your wife? Meanwhile, the bride and the women are hearing this on a speaker, so they're in a different room but they can still hear what's going on. There are 3 important aspects to the ceremony. The first is the Islamic readings, which blesses the marriage. The second is the bit where they say kabur, and kabur means I agree. It's like saying I do. So they ask the man, I think it's 3 times, do you really want to take her to be your wife? Kabur, yeah, but do you really? Kabur, yeah, but come on, last chance. Really, really, truly, do you want to? And they say it again, and then they go over to the wife, and they say to the wife, do you really want to take this guy? And she says, kabur, 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 and then that's it, they're married. Oh wait, there's one other bit that I forgot. Oh yeah, the dowry. But essentially what this is not the man paying for the woman, it is the man paying amount of money to the woman. So it doesn't go to the woman's family, they're not selling the bride off. He's saying, if for whatever reason I end up not being around, this is the amount of money that I bequeath to you so that you can live your life. Which I actually think is really cute. It's kind of like Asian life insurance. Correct me on this because I think I've forgotten the number, but I think the number is 275. So in this amount that is given to the bride, it has to contain the number 275. So it could be £127.50, it could be £2.75, it could be £2,750,000, but essentially it's just an amount that is given to the bride. And then the men go, yeah, you're married, groom, woohoo! The groom goes into the room with the bride and is like, hey, I'm married to you. And that is the first time in olden days that they would have seen each other, because the bride's wearing a veil at this point, right? So then he lifts it up and is like, oh, you're my bride, you're my wife, ah! So that is the equivalent of the wedding day. It's then followed by the reception, which is just a big party, you know, dancing and food and that kind of thing. That's the similarities between the two, right? The extra days in the Asian thing, let me go before and then I'll go after. Before the nikah and the reception, they do something called a Mandy. So the Mandy is kind of like a party the day before the wedding, and apparently it started when all the women in the family wanted to get together with the bride and be like, oh my god, you're getting married, and they started like painting each other's hands. So Mandy is a term used for the day, but is also what you call, I'm sure you guys must have seen it before, a lot of Asian people have like the decorative thing on their hands. It's called henna or Mandy that you put on your hands. So Mandy is typically when that is done. And there's a few ways to do the Mandy. In the olden days, I keep saying the olden days. In the olden days, it used to be just the bride who would do it with her family, or the women in her family, but it's since evolved to have 2 different affairs. So the bride has a Mandy with her family, and the groom has a Mandy with his family. Or the alternative way to do it, which is how my mum did it, is to have a joint Mandy, where the bride and groom are together the day before the wedding, and all of the families come together in that one space, which I think is really cute, because I wouldn't want to be apart from Janie, so yeah. So with the Mandy there are 3, I guess, bits again that's quite important, or notable. The most important bit is right at the beginning, and that is the procession of people. So the women from the groom's side come in with silver trays and carry the things that the bride is gonna wear. Does that make sense? So like all of the bride's clothes, the dresses, the jewellery, the shoes, and sort of show it to the room. It's just a thing that happens with trays. The women from the bride side will do the same and carry trays of the things that the man is going to wear. Fun fact for you, I do remember being part of a Mandy procession. We were carrying these huge, beautifully adorned trays with lots of stuff on it, me and my cousin, and it was in Mauritius, and we were kind of young, and I remember talking to her, we were just talking, and before we went up the stairs, so in Mauritius there are a lot of cockroaches, right? There's also a lot of lizards and a lot of mosquitoes, but there are a lot of cockroaches. It's a hot place, it happens, and there was a cockroach on her tray, and I was just like, there's a cockroach on her tray, and she went, ah! And she dropped it, and we had a smash, and it was a big deal, and we got into so much trouble. She got into so much trouble, and I think she thought I did it on purpose, but I promised you, I promised so hard, I did not do that on purpose. Like, there was genuinely a cockroach on her tray. I was just saying it out, and loads of people thought that I was lying to get to drop the tray, but I really didn't. Anyway, moving on. So after the procession of the trays, bride and groom sit down, or this is at least how it happened at my mum's one, and they have like loads of sweets in front of them. I'm not talking like quality sweets or roses, I'm talking Indian sweets, which if you've not tasted, you need to add that on your bucket list, because they are the most beautiful, diabetes inducing, but beautiful things in the world. They're like loads of different things made of like chickpeas or lentils, like dal, often soaked in lots of syrup, and they're so colourful and they're so tasty, and oh my god, I want Ambala right now. Ambala is the like main shop that is known for selling those sweets. Like, think of Ambala as if Woolworths is pick and mix, Ambala is Asian sweets, except it's the only thing they sell, and it's so good. But yes, a tray of Indian sweets, and the guests from the Mandy will come up and feed the bride and groom to sweeten their mouth before their life together. Oh my god, it's so cute! And they'll also then use the Mandy, so the henna, and actually paint like their fingers and not toes. I don't know why I wanted to say that. And the third bit is obviously very important, is the food. You feed your guests. So they often have like things like samosas, bhajis, and yeah, kind of thing. I'm talking about it, I'm getting really excited about mine. So another difference, just to quickly go back between Western and Asian weddings, the Western colour, right, is white. That's what you wear to your wedding. The traditional colours for an Asian wedding are red and gold. So yes, that's the Mandy that happens before the wedding. Then the day after the wedding, there is something called a chowtari, and traditionally this is because up until this point the bride will be living in the mum's house with the family, and so the groom, who's now the wife, no, husband, okay, will come and take the wife away because they're no longer going to be living there. So the chowtari is kind of like the final dinner that happens before the send-off. And interestingly, when Jamie's brother got married quite recently, we found out that it was traditional for the groom's mum to do a dinner after the wedding where they will get together, and we just had like a little gossip about the wedding really and how the day went, being like, oh, before we sent them off on their honeymoon. So yeah, there's kind of like a similarity but also different, because on the Asian side it's the bride's mum that will do it, and they normally serve a dish called kheer and dal puri. And kheer is like an Asian rice pudding. It's so good, and not just any kheer. My mum's is the best. It tastes incredible. Like, Jamie is so excited whenever she makes it. So I saw video footage of my mum's chowtari. I was 5, by the way, when I went to this one, and I was adorable. And my mum was so beautiful. Anyway, they opened up all of their gifts from their guests, and they got so many different cups and so many different mullinexes, you know, like the blender sets. So yeah, that's, I guess, the 3 traditions, the 3 days, which could be 4 days if the bride and groom have different Mandys, of an Asian wedding and the 1 day of a Western wedding. Which I guess brings us to the conclusion of the video. Blah, 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 blah. This is my idea of a drum roll. Blah, blah, blah. What is it that we're doing for our wedding? So we have had huge discussions with both sides, and we've come up with a fusion schedule between the two. So this is how our wedding journey will be planned. We are going to do the Western thing of having a hen and a stag. You may have noticed that in a lot of the Asian practices that I just explained, the women and men are often segregated, and I think this is probably the only thing in the Western world where men and women are also segregated, but we've just sort of like done a huge that to that, and we are not going to partake in that at all. I think probably for my hen I will just have women there, but that's mostly because I think the activities that we'll be doing, like, none of my male friends will probably want to come to, but Jamie will definitely be having women at his stag, because we're just going to have our friends that are like near and dear to us come and celebrate the whole thing. So yes, we are going to be doing the hen and the stag, and that will likely happen like a month before. Then we are going to be doing a joint Mandy, and that will be the day before our wedding, and that is when we are going to be like completely Asian. And the brides and groom's party will be wearing Asian clothes to this. Families will also be encouraged to wear Asian clothes, which is really cool, because I think it's going to be a new experience for quite a lot of Jamie's side of the family who probably have never worn Asian clothes before. And when we were recently talking to them about it, they were like, where do we go to shop for this stuff? So that's going to be really fun, like taking them all down and like choosing outfits together. So yeah, there's that, and I will of course be wearing red and gold. My mum also wore red and gold, and she looked stunning in her Mandy outfit. So yeah, I'm gonna do the same. We will be having a joint Mandy, and after that we are both going to part. I'm gonna stay in this house as we get ready, and Jamie's gonna go with his parents to get ready, and that'll probably be 1 night apart. We are joint at the hip, Jamie and I. Apart from when we're filming videos or at work, like, we're together all the time. So it's gonna be so weird and so scary, because I'm gonna be stressing out and being so excited and nervous. I'm not gonna be able to speak to him, it's gonna be so bizarre. And then it's gonna be the wedding day, which is gonna be quite Western. So we're kind of gonna do a fusion of the two. We are gonna do a civil wedding ceremony where we get married under the eyes of British law. So I'll be walking down the aisle in my white dress doing the whole I do, I do, I do. And after that we may or may not be doing a Nikah. And I just want to be really open and honest with you guys. There's 2 reasons that we may not be doing it. As you guys know, I've spoken to you quite openly about my faith on this channel, and basically I just want to make sure that if we were to do a Nikah, we're not going to be being disrespectful to the religion, or almost, I don't want to use the word like appropriate the culture for the wrong reasons, but you know, like, I don't want to give off that vibe. I don't want to feel like I'm disrespecting people who truly believe in that, because Jamie will not be converting to Islam. And there's like this whole thing about people who convert specifically to get married, and yeah, I'm not going to open that can of worms, but that's one consideration. The second reason we may not be doing a nikah is because, as you know, we are LGBT+, and whilst recently in Islamic culture trans people have been accepted into the Islamic law, it's still not something that is, well, let's just say it's something that's still hugely stigmatised. It's still very conservative and very traditional, and I think it's going to be quite hard to find an imam who would carry out a nikah considering the fact that Jamie is trans. I don't think I am ever questioned about my sexuality, which is kind of a weird thing. But I guess because we present heteronormatively is not something that they would ever question. The mind boggles. But yeah, I'm sure there is a huge Islamic community out there that is LGBT+. In fact, I know that there is a huge community of LGBT+ people out there who are also Muslim. I just don't know whether any imams are. So yeah, we need to do some research on that fairly soon. So yes, jury is still out as whether we will do the nikah, but it will be on the same day if we do it as the main wedding, which will be quite Western in its ways. The date after, we will also be doing a chowtari. So Jamie and I have already been living together, so it's not going to be at my mum's house doing the whole giving me away to go and live with Jamie and all of that stuff. I would have loved to have had it at my mum's house, but for reasons beyond my control, that is not happening. But instead, we're actually going to fuse the two cultures together, because Jamie's mum also seemed quite excited to do the groom's tradition of holding the dinner, so we're going to hold it at Jamie's mum's place, but my mum is going to cook the traditional meal at the Asian one there. So bang! Fusion! Yay! And whilst this has nothing to do with tradition or culture, I guess I should probably tell you about the honeymoons too. We are quite keen on visiting our respective cultural places. A meaningful nod, I guess, to who we are and where we've come from. Jamie is obsessed with the idea of doing a mini moon. For those of you who don't know, it's another way to squeeze even more money out of us in this commercialised capitalist society. Oh my god. But with my less cynical brain on, essentially what this is a tiny honeymoon that happens just after the wedding so that you can then save up and, you know, maybe if it's better weather to go in 6 months' time after your wedding, do the main honeymoon later on. So we will be mini mooning in Scotland, specifically visiting Glasgow to see Jamie's side of the family. Though I also do want to go to Edinburgh because I've heard it's beautiful. Not just in Glasgow, but I hear Edinburgh's also really good. Not just in Glasgow. We'll then be going to Mauritius for our main honeymoon a little bit later on. I'm so excited. In some ways I'm kind of more excited about the honeymoon than the wedding, just because, like, holiday, hello. But yeah, that's it, I guess. That is the structure of our wedding. Not sure if you needed a whole video on it, but there you go. This is exciting for me. I'm doing this because I like to document our journey as we go through this all and sort of like realise all of these different things, and it's a real learning curve. Every day really is a school day, and it's so cool. This is what I'm saying about being in a mixed race couple, to be able to learn and not preach, but, you know, share your own experiences and bring new ones into your life, and not just share it between the two of you, but with everyone else as well. And I guess that's another thing that is a difference between Asian and Western weddings. So nowadays, especially in the Western weddings, it is the bride and groom that will plan the wedding. They'll obviously do it with the help of normally the mums, right? And it's normally the bride that will go ahead and like all colour schemes and this, that and the other. But in Asian weddings, it's actually the parents that plan the wedding. They'll get together and talk about how to fund it and what's happening and all of that stuff. So we will be doing our wedding planning with the help of our mums. But yeah, it's really cool to be able to teach our families as well and see our families experience things that they have not experienced and just expand their ways of being. I love it. I absolutely love it. Don't get me wrong, it has come with its bloody obstacles and conflict, but at the moment, I am enjoying it. Today is a good day. So, the final thing I wanted to do before I ended this was to look and see if there were any traditions that are Scottish, because that is not something that we have looked into. So I'm sure in terms of the structure of the weddings, it's pretty much the same. Right, okay, lucky charms. Seems the bride always exits the house on the right foot. That's funny because it's a Muslim superstition as well. Like, my mum has always engraved this in me. You always enter your own property with your right foot. It's something to do with leaving the devil behind you. So there you go. Small world, huh? There is a sixpence in the bride's shoe, and that's normally in Aberdeenshire and Angus. That feels like it would be uncomfortable, but I wouldn't be opposed to doing that. I would need to find a sixpence. A sprig of white heather is hidden in the bride's bouquet, and that is a popular token of good luck. That is pretty cool, and I'm pretty sure we will be doing that, and There is also a Scottish floral theme to our wedding that I probably shouldn't be saying, but which we'll probably reveal more about later on. There is something called a wedding scramble. Ooh. So as the bride steps into the car, her father throws a handful of coins for the children to collect. Oh, it's believed to bring about financial good fortune. To be fair, it'll probably be my friends scrambling for the money as opposed to the kids. But you know, we should so do that. Feet washing is also a custom that comes from Fife, apparently. In Fife, a few brave bridegrooms go through the traditional custom that means sitting in a tub of water whilst his legs are smeared with grease, ash and soot. Great. I do not see Jamie doing that in any lifetime. Apparently in ceremonies, it's quite normal for people to elope. Actually, we were talking about eloping. That would have been a thing, but our parents would have killed us. So yeah, no eloping. Not for us. But I can see why. I mean, Scotland is absolutely beautiful. So if you were just gonna go to some beautiful place in the hills and just do something with the two of you, that would be so cute. Okay, final ones. Gifting. The wedding sark is a traditional name given to the shirt worn by the groom, which is gifted by the bride. And the groom pays for the wedding dress in return. That's cute. And that's kind of like the Asian tradition too with the Mandy, where the person buys the opposite person's clothes. That's cool. I like that. So I guess in some ways we are doing that. Clocks are traditionally given to the happy couple by the best man, and a luckenbooth. A luckenbooth. I don't think there's a word more Scottish than luckenbooth. Luckenbooth. Luckenbooth is a brooch given as a love token by a gentleman to his betrothed, usually made of silver and engraved with two hearts combined. What on earth does a luckenbooth look like? I want to see this. A luckenbooth. So there you go, that was my incredibly rambly summary of Asian and Scottish wedding stuff, and a reveal to you as to how our wedding is gonna go. So we have not just a wedding to plan, but also a Mandy and a Chautari, and it's gonna be great. It means that I'm gonna be able to wear my red and gold Mandy outfit as a nod to my mums, and also a white wedding dress, which you know every girl just dreams of doing. So that's pretty cool, even though weddings are not just about clothes. Yes, I am aware, don't worry. And the best thing about this is being able to share experiences and love and differences, and really seeing two, not just people, but families come together. In my case it's technically three because my parents are divorced, so there are three families coming together, but you know, just for the purpose of the narrative, let's just say two families coming together, because it doesn't sound so beautiful. Yes, it does. So there you go, that is it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. I would love to know, especially if you guys come from any different cultures, how your wedding went, and if you guys had any different quirky sort of structures or traditions that are perhaps more cultural to you. I'm so fascinated by this stuff, it's so bloody cool. So yes, please let me know about your own. If you did enjoy this video, please do consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and make sure you got that bell turned on for the notifications of future wedding videos, because they are coming. That is it from me for today. I will see you guys next Monday with another vlog. Be kind and have a great day. Bye!